Hello out there, and I wanted to take a minute today and have a chat about what I think is just an excellent knife. It's a knife I've already reviewed, I've talked about it a lot, it's been on the channel a number of times in the past, but it's one that I just constantly have to buy again and get back in the collection when I move on from it. And it warrants being talked about again because it is, at this point, my favorite Kershaw. And this is the 1812 Dividend. And the Dividend here, the one in front of you, is the fourth one that I've owned. When it first came out, I did a review on the glass-filled nylon version. Then I ended up getting rid of that one and picking up one of these gray aluminum-handled ones. And then I got rid of that one because I got the M390 version. And like an idiot, I moved on from that knife and had to get it back into my collection. And a buddy of mine had this guy available for trade. And so I did. I traded for it. And you can see here with the X's that it is a blemished version. The cosmetic blemish, one of them is this stamp. Take a look at that. Pretty cool, actually. It's very just like blurry, double stamped. There's a couple of other spots on the knife that just cosmetically aren't perfect. And I had an old blue pocket clip from the Kershaw Hops, I believe it was. And yeah, that fit this knife, so I ended up swapping that out and giving it just a little bit more character, which worked for me. It's a little bit cool, makes it my own. Always like to do that. But anyway, so I have had a pretty significant history with this model, a lot of use on a number of different versions of it, and that's one of the things that makes it great. But I mean, gosh, guys, there's just so much to talk about and so many things that I like about this knife. And although I did review it already once before, if you've never seen anything about this model, this video could probably serve as a review because I'll talk about every aspect of it again here today, and I will throw up the specs right here on the side if I haven't already. So yeah, just getting back to it though, it's a model that sort of checks every single box except for one when it comes to the things I really look for in a knife. I mean, the ergos are great, the price point is great, the materials I'm really good with for that price point. The only box that it doesn't check is that I do prefer manual folders, at least at this point. But, I mean, Kershaw does a good job with Speed Safe, and this has always been a very snappy one. And what I have to say about Kershaw Speed Safe is that I'm not sure if it's the washers or what it is with the mechanism, but the USA-made ones like this, the Link, the Leak, they tend to be just better and snappier than the imported ones. I don't know, again, 100% the reason, but just really good snappy action on this knife. The blade steel on these standard models is 420 HC. 420 is it's a good user steel in my experience. I haven't had any issues with it. It doesn't hold an edge forever, but it hasn't been particularly chippy in any of the ones that I've had. It's been fine. Fine for the price point that you're going to pay. And let's get into that because that's actually a big part of what makes this knife great. We've got these nice aluminum scales. Like I said, the glass-filled nylon wasn't a bad-looking knife either, just a little bit more budgety. The aluminum ones, though, they bounce all over in price depending on where you go. Could be $49 on Amazon. Could be $42, $32, I think, is the price on Walmart.com for the tan and black one, which looks really cool. So, yeah, between $30 and $45 for a knife like this is an absolute steal. And the reason why I kept thinking about it and wanted to talk about it today was I think that it's head and shoulders better than the knife that people think of first, a lot of times at least, when they think of Kershaw. And that's the Leak. Now, obviously, if you're going to compare these two knives, there is a size difference, and there is maybe a more gentlemanly aspect to the Leak. And it is a classic, but I mean, people talk about this knife up here as being an essential EDC knife, just historically speaking now, just one of the most popular pocket knives of all time. And there is no way that I would take that knife over the Dividend. No way. In any of its versions, really. And I guess it's because of what I value more than anything else, and it's ergonomics. It's the ergos, and you do have a very similar blade kind of shape and a very similar blade length as far as cutting edge. As I line them up, you can see that. But it's that size and the shape of the handle that really changes things. And you have that guard because of the flipper on the Dividend that just makes it so good in hand, despite the fact that it has no jimping. It's just very, very comfortable in hand. And when I first picked it up, I said in my initial review that I was getting the glass-filled nylon version because I figured that it would be more grippy. And when I had the link, L-I-N-K, and sorry if leak and link sound alike, especially when I'm talking, but when I had the link, the 1776, that knife, I had the aluminum version, and it was just too slick. It was the same kind of aluminum. It was too slick in my hand, and that's why when the Dividend came out, I figured I would avoid this stuff, and I would go with that glass-filled nylon. And it was unnecessary because just the way that this knife is designed, the shape of the handle, it is pretty close to perfect for me. And yeah, I'll rave and rave about it because there aren't very many knives that when there's no jimping, I don't at least think, man, I wish there was jimping. And with this one, it isn't even an afterthought. Like it doesn't matter at all. So that's definitely a high point of praise. And that is the big thing for me when it comes to separating this from the Leek. Just, you know, I mean, look how thin they both are. A lot of very, very similar qualities. But for me, a knife that I'm going to carry and be able to use, absolutely, the Dividend is the one. And the thing that I like about it more than anything at this point is that more and more we're getting these different variations that are coming out. I already mentioned the tan one with the black blade that's available on Walmart, and there's also an orange one I think that they have. I don't know if those are both exclusive to them, but they're the only places that I've seen them. But now there's like S35VN that you can get for like $90 on House of Blades. There's also that M390 version, which sells out in no time. And that knife, the M390 version, is priced at like $77, $80, something like that. So just really good, affordable price points for a USA-made Kershaw. And yeah, for me, it's just a classic. It's just an instant classic because it isn't that old of a knife, but it's just one that should be around forever, and they should continue to develop and do things with. And honestly, there isn't much more that they would need to do to make this a ZT kind of quality knife. And I know there's some people that are going to very quickly disagree, but it's the design that makes it that way, not so much the materials. And I'm sure they could dress this up and do something to it in order to push it to that ZT level. But as far as like strength and security, even though it is super thin, it's solid. It's a good user knife. Yeah, and for anyone who who maybe isn't a fan of the 420 HC steel, I'll be completely honest. It is maintainable, at least for me, just as easy as the Sandvik on the Leek here. And guys, when I'm using these two knives in EDC kind of tasks, I can't tell the difference. If they both have a good edge, sure, I mean, I guess that the Sandvik will probably hold its edge a little bit longer, perform different, but I mean, with all the other differences between the two knives, heat treat, blade geometry, all that kind of stuff, like, I really can't tell that Sandvik is that much better than 420 HC in use. So I don't have any problems with 420. You know, they do a good job with the rest of the knife, and they give me an edge that can be maintained and that I'll be able to sharpen. I'm not going to have a problem with it at all. And so that's where we are. And yeah, any of the things that people might look at as negatives, they're just things that don't bother me. And the things that jump out just really stand out, even more so than other knives that it competes with on the marketplace. You know, I said just the other day in my Benchmade video that Benchmade needs to come out with like a red class knife, you know, in the $50 price point, that's made in the USA and on par with the quality that you can get from Civivi. And these two knives are different, granted. And I'm not going to go so far to say that the level of quality of the Dividend is on par with the quality that you get from the Civivi, but this is exactly what I was thinking about when I was talking about that with Benchmade and what Benchmade could do, because Kershaw has done it. You know, this is a knife that is something that can compete with something from Civivi because it's that good of a model. It just needs a little bit more recognition. I think it sells well, but I think that more and more people should have it. And it's one of those knives that if you are watching this channel and you're not a knife guy and you're just looking for a knife, like, this could be it. I don't see why not. You know, if you have a $50 knife budget and that's your knife budget for the next 5 years, then this is probably the knife that I would buy and the one that I would stick with. So yeah, that's really it, guys. I just wanted to bring something out that I really, really like, something that I've had a lot of experience with, and I've been dumb enough to get rid of a number of times, and I just have to keep getting because it's that good. And it feels good to just do that sometimes, just talk about how good something is. Not really from an objective point as a reviewer, but just from a guy who just really enjoys a good product. And that's what we have in front of us. That is the Kershaw 1812 Dividend. Lots of different variations, like I said, so you can find yours, whatever your budget is, and get a good, solid EDC knife out of it. All right, so any other questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, let me know down below. Really appreciate you watching. Thanks very much, and take care. Have a good one.